Okay, so I'm continuing this. Hello, welcome, YouTube family. I'm kind of continuing from my other video that I was doing about the Brothers Podcast. Excuse me, I'm about to eat a protein bar, y'all. I got out of church a short while ago, and so I usually bring little snacks and stuff so I can just, because I'm going to the gym later on, so I try to keep protein in my system. I'm saying that all to say that if I'm chewing, or maybe I smack a little bit, I'm gonna try to chew with my mouth closed. Hopefully, it won't be too distracting. I try to, use etiquette and chew with my mouth closed when I'm not speaking. But nevertheless, this is like an extension, a part two of where I left off. But this time, as far as what's that website? The channel, Media Man. When I was talking about stereotypes and black men and the myths about us being in jail and prison and deadbeat dads and all the statistics and all this madness that everybody believes. I also wanted to touch on, in the second part, I also wanted to touch on this myth about black women being more race loyal than black men. And this is not to dump on sisters, because I love sisters. I love black women. Even when I address black women, when I talk to my friends or females that I know who I've been in relationships with, I usually refer to them as queen. Like, hi, good morning, queen, this and that, because I really do feel like we're an extension of our royal roots, but we don't act like it sometimes in today's society. And so I recognize that we're a fragmented society. And so when it comes to these myths, I like to refute a lot of them. And so people can carry this knowledge on. And so when they get into debates other places, they can debunk some of these myths. And one of them is this race loyalty thing. I mean, black men are just as loyal to black women, if not more loyal to black women, to a fault, a lot of us, more than black women are to us. And that's just keeping it real. It's not trying to dump on black women or prop up black men, but it's just the real. I mean, we are probably more race loyal than any other race of man towards their race of woman. And we're more race loyal towards our own women, more so than they are with us. So I just wanted to kind of jump on that really quick. So there was a portion of that video in the Medium Man's video where this guy was talking about black women are more race loyal because statistically 2/3 we date outside of our race at a rate of 2/3 that of black women, meaning 66% of black people who date outside their race are black men, and about 33% are black women. And out of that 66%, most of those are white women for us, and I think vice versa. Most of the 33% of the black women are white men. So we date out twice as much, if not more, than black women. So he tried to use that statistic, saying that out of all the interracial marriages, 2/3 of them are black men, and only 1/3 of that is black women. He tried to use that to say that black women are more race loyal. And so what you have to remember is that those statistics don't translate to race loyalty. I'm going to explain why they do not. They don't translate to race loyalty because black women, hold on, I got to pull in for a minute. I can't concentrate on the street while I'm doing this video. I just can't. It's just a safety concern. And I want to get this out. I don't want to be specific to the point. I don't want to be missing exits and all kind of other stuff. So that doesn't translate to race loyalty. And the reason why it doesn't translate to race loyalty is because black men have more options. And I'll explain this. when it comes to interracial dating, black men have more options than black women. So it's not that black women are more race loyal, and that's why only 1/3 of interracial relationships between black people and other races are black women. That's not why they make up that 1/3 and we make up the 2/3. It's because we have more options. And what I mean by that is, when you go into another community, whether it's the Hispanic community, the white community, the Indian community, the Arab community, and it's been this way for a long time, probably since interracial dating was legalized in 1967, after the case of Loving versus Virginia. That case went to the Supreme Court, and it made interracial dating legal. And everything changed. Everything flipped on its head. All the things we couldn't do as blacks, all the dating patterns that we couldn't go by, all the communities that we couldn't go into and date their women, everything flipped on its head after 1967. So a lot of these patterns, you start to see the uptrend, the uptick in these trends after 1967. And what I want to say is, ever since the late 60s, early 70s, when this dynamic started to occur after that Supreme Court case, black men have always had more opportunities with women of other races, more so than black women and other races of men. Other races of men, and I'm not trying to be facetious, I'm not trying to be sarcastic or condescending, but you can look at the patterns and you can look at the stats. White men, other races of men, but white men in particular, are not checking for black women like that. No offense, because I think black, and not because they're not beautiful or they're not fine, black women are some of the most beautiful, exotic women on the face of the earth. But we know as a society, and white men, if they're honest, they'll tell you this too, but we as a society are not yet still comfortable with a white man with a black woman. It's still kind of taboo. It's more acceptable today. But white men, statistically, you can look at it. Not only can you observe this, but statistically, it shows that white men are just not marrying black women like that. When they do marry outside their race, statistically, they marry Asians at a higher rate than any other alternative ethnic group when they date out. It's mainly Asian women that they date and marry. They rarely, statistically, by the numbers, they rarely will take a black woman and walk them down the aisle in the United States. They will have sex with you. They'll take you home from a club. They'll have whatever little slave fantasy they want to have with you on the side while they're married or before they get married, in college or whatever. They'll have their little sexual experiences. But statistics show, when it comes to marriage rates and marriage trends, white men aren't checking for black women, okay? On the flip side, when you look at a lot of the interracial dating trends and dating stats in different states and different cities, especially with the liberal states and cities like California as a state, New York as a state. I know Florida as a state has a lot of interracial happenings, even though that's a conservative state, which is kind of surprising. It's not a liberal state, but in Florida there's a lot of interracial dating. Because there's a lot of Cubans, a lot of Asians, a lot of Hispanics. That's a hub for them. But my point is, black men can go into other communities and more diverse liberal places and date white women at a higher rate. We can go into the Asian community and date Asians at a higher rate. We can go into the Hispanic community as black men in these liberal cities. And some conservative cities too, but mainly these liberal, diverse cities. We can go into these Hispanic and ethnic communities and have a free-for-all. It's been on the downtrend a little bit since Trump has been in office, obviously, because he's allowing a lot of these racists to come out of the woodworks and just say what they've been feeling for a long time. The ones who don't date outside their race and the ones that don't really integrate and they don't feel comfortable around black people. Trump has emboldened people to say racist things, do racist things. You see all of it on social media. So these things, these socio-political trends have been on the downtrend, especially these social dating trends. But for a while there, for a lot of decades, black men were able to go into these liberal cities and go into these communities, and our options were through the roof. Whereas black women, when you look at the numbers, this is not just me talking, when you look at the numbers, black women just, other communities of men don't welcome them into their dating market, into their dating pool, like other races of women do. And that's why it's like that in terms of the interracial dating between blacks and others, and we're 66% of that interracial number. You know, that's why. It's not because black women are more race loyal. If black women had the same options, you can observe it every day, and you can observe it in the numbers. And in the statistics, you can look at whatever data source you want to. It's overwhelming that white men just don't do that. They just don't do that. Not from a marital standpoint. They don't marry black women. It's like, I think the percentage, if you want me to put a number on it, it's like somewhere between 1% to 4% of white men marry or have ever married a black woman. It's something extremely low. They just don't do it. And it's not because, like I said, it's not because black women, something's wrong with black women, or it's because they're ugly or whatever. They're beautiful. I think black women are beautiful, you know, but when it comes to them being single and they want to say, oh yeah, all these black men are dating outside the race and, you know, we're more loyal than you are, it's just a myth. In other words, what I'm saying is, if black women had the same options as black men, these statistics would be topsy-turvy. They would be flipped a little bit. You know, if white men were running after you every day, you know, making advances on you every single day, if Indian men were on you, you know, like white on rice every day, if Hispanic men were just at work, at gas stations, at your college, like if all these races of men were leaving their communities and racing over to the black community to grab a black woman, and your opportunities existed on that level, and you had those kind of options, you wouldn't be sitting up here sticking to black men and sticking with them like you do. You stick with them by default. You're sticking with black men for the most part because we're almost your only option. Yeah, other races will date you, but not at a high rate. It's statistically proven that we date out at a high rate because we have more options. White women are more likely, highly more likely to date us than a white man is to date you. Asian women are much more likely to date us than an Asian man is to make an advance at a black woman and try to get a black woman to marry them. It's almost unheard of. Numerically, just it would be a rare thing, and that's why you see a rare thing when you see an Asian man married to a black. It's a very, very rare thing. I'm just saying statistically by the numbers. I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just pointing it out that loyalty has nothing to do with why we date out so much and why black women don't. It's because we have more options. Black women, if you ladies had more options, you would probably date out more than we would. Because we date out with resistance. We date out reluctantly. We love black women, but a lot of times when you talk to black men, and these are well-to-do black men, not these broke black men that black women try to purport it to be. No, these are a lot of times when you look at these marriages, these are well-to-do black men. A lot of them are well-established. They're lower middle class, upper middle class. And I think that's what angers a lot of black women, is that these are well-established black men who usually marry outside of their race, you know? And so that adds to the anger and to the sometimes the self-reflection of black women trying to figure out what's wrong and why it is the way it is. But anyway, I'm going to end this video because I don't want to go on a tangent. But black women are factually, by the numbers, not race loyal. If you had the options we had in terms of dating other communities, and they embraced you the way other races of women embrace us from a dating pool standpoint, if the market was as gracious to you as the dating market is to us from an ethnic standpoint, you would probably date out more than we do, but it's not like that. You guys don't have it like that. You just don't have it like that. And the statistics and the numbers prove it. Other races of women are just more likely to date us and marry us than other races of men are to date and marry you. That's the bottom line. And that's why you stick with black men. It's just the way it is. So you have to do what you have to do to just, when you get a good black man, treat them right. There's things you can do to increase your market value, out here in the dating pool. There's things you can do. You guys a lot of times don't want to hear it from an honest black man. But there's things you can do. But you guys aren't trying to hear that. And I'm not trying to put all you in a box, but most of you guys are not trying to hear constructive criticism and what you can do to kind of, keep a lot of these black men in the black community and tell these other women, nah, we ain't trying to hear that. Our black women are treating us like gold. But a lot of black men, we don't feel like we're getting respected and cherished the way that we should. I know a lot of good brothers, and they say the same thing. And I love black women. If God gives me a black woman, I'm going to marry and treat that black woman like gold. If he sends me a white woman, I'm going to treat her like gold. If he sends me an Asian, doesn't matter what color it is to me. What matters is that they're a God-fearing woman. They're respectful. They're submissive, not subservient. I don't want a slave. I don't want a yes woman. But I am a Christian. I don't make no bones about that. I am a Christian, and I do believe in submission. Submission meaning I'm the leader of the household. And a lot of times black women say they want leaders, but they really don't, because guess what? If you want a leader, that means you have to be a follower of that leader. You have to be the follower of that man in the household that you want to lead. And because you guys don't want to follow the leadership of a black, to you, leadership comes across as a dictatorship. And so that's where things get crossed. So, when you're not being submissive, when you're not being feminine, when you're not submitting to a good black man who has your best interest at heart, these are the results you get in the dating world. And it's a crisis right now. I mean, if you look on social media platforms, it's an epidemic of black female singleness. And black women are venting and they're complaining about it, and it's a problem. They're in crisis mode. It's trending. That's what's trending right now. Black women on social media is a big thing. They're trending, making videos. There's been news stories on it. There's been articles about it. There's been exposés about it on television. Certain people have specials and summits and round tables trying to figure out why it's an epidemic of single black women in America. I'm going off on a tangent, but just know that we are loyal, but we're not going to be loyal to the point where we're unhappy and we're not at peace. Like I always tell women, if you want to be in my life, you have to add to my peace. My life is very peaceful, and you have to add to my peace and not take away from it. And that's how 99% of black men feel. And until black women understand that, this epidemic of singleness with black females are going to continue for generations. They don't get it together. So that's all I wanted to say. That's a myth about that black loyalty thing. That's all a myth. And you can check the stats. You can check the data on it. It's not the truth. It's just the dating market favors us more than the dating market. In terms of ethnic dating and multicultural dating, it just favors us more than it favors the black women. And it has them stuck in a position where we're who they have to date for the most part. Anyway, that's it. Like, share, subscribe, comment. If you disagree, let me know. But let me know with facts, not feelings. Because like Ben Shapiro, even though I don't approve of a lot of things he says, the one thing I do approve of that he says a lot is facts don't care about your feelings. So, okay. That's about it. This is a longer video than I wanted it to be. I only wanted it to be about 10 minutes. Ended up being almost 20. But like, share, subscribe, comment, and I'll see you in the next video.